All right, so last piece of the puzzle here, almost done. I just really want to stress this because this is really important to you guys. Halfway through, you're paying less to your principal or your actual borrowing loan than you are to your interest or the bank's pocket, basically. So, and in the last month here, like you could see, it goes drastically the other way. So at some point after 15 years, because this is a 30-year loan, right? After 15 years, this switches someplace. So on this amort table here is an amortization table. What happens in the amortization table is you see your beginning balance, you make your monthly payment. So this is a $200,000 loan, 4.95%, 30 years. Okay, so you borrowed $200,000, you make a payment of $1,067 every single month. And by the way, that does not include any taxes that you have to pay to your town or city or village. It does not include any school taxes, and it does not include any of your insurance either, or bills, electric, gas, water, anything like that, cable, internet, cell phone, whatever. So anyway, you're paying that amount of interest, $825. 242 goes to the actual loan. So after paying $1,000, this does not go to $199,000. It goes to $199,757. So not only does it not move down, you paid them over $4,000, and they still didn't even take off $1,000 of what you owe them. I don't mean to depress you guys, but I want you guys to be educated before you take out any loans. Okay, so after 12 payments, so equals 12 times this payment, right? You've given them $12,800 equals this value, this value minus this value. They've said, hey, thank you very much for the $12,800. I'm only going to put about $3,000 to your loan, and I'm going to pocket the rest. Bank keeps. How about that? Okay. To the loan you paid. Okay. So the bank keeps almost $10,000. And you paid not even $3,000 to your loan after the first year. Frustrating, I know. So let's go fast forward to 5 years in. That would be 60. Oh, I only did 36 years, huh? Or payments here. Let me do this. Not that you're going 500 payments, but I'm just figure I'd go farther, make it easier. Okay, there we are. So I'm going to do that and scroll this thing down to 300. Whoop, too far. And that's what happens when you go too far. There's no numbers. There's nothing there. There's no values left. Okay. So after 360. All right. So we're saying, what, 5 years, I said? So that would be 60 payments. Okay. 60 payments. Here's 60 payments right here. After 60 payments equals, actually, I'm going to do this. Paste. Equals, I am in the wrong one. 60 times, that's the monthly payment, right? So you have given the bank checks totaling, after 5 years, $64,000. Equals what? How much do they actually accept? Well, they are accepting, this is the principal? No, sorry, that's the interest. I'll have to change that. That is the interest. This is to the loan. I'm going to take this, move it over. All right. So you paid the bank $64,000. They only took this much left, or this much away from it. So you borrowed $200,000. They say, after you've paid $64,000, you still owe them $183 left because they only put $16,500 roughly to pay off your loan, and they just pocketed almost $48,000. So multiple things to learn here. One, if you take a loan out, you're going to lose money. But who has $200,000 in pocket cash to just go buy a house? See, so we're kind of bound by this stuff. We have no choice. The one thing I will say, though, is be wise about your loans, okay? Definitely be wise about it. I'm going to keep going, go to about 180 as I'm talking. Be wise about the loans and just think about what's actually going on. You are borrowing this amount of money for 30 years of your life. Okay, so if you can borrow a smaller amount, that's great. You want the smallest possible loan you can get so you have a small mortgage so you don't lose all that money. The next thing to say is, as you're going through this, if you have an opportunity to put more money down than just your minimum payment of $1,067, for example, if you could pay $1,100 per month, I know it doesn't sound like much, $32.46, right? Well, it makes a huge difference, and you might be able to save a year or two, maybe a year off of your loan. So think about 1 year less of interest that you are actually paying, right? So the general rule of thumb is if you can make one additional mortgage payment, so say you make an additional $1,000 every year, okay, you'll chop off 4 years to this mortgage because the extra money is going to pay the principal directly, not to the interest of your pocket. So your extra $1,000 that you put into the bank payments, it's going to go directly to the principal to chop it down, and none of it goes towards the interest. So that's the benefit of that. So if you could lose 4 years by doing one extra payment. And they say if you could do 2 extra payments a year, you can lose up to 6 or 7 years off of your loan. So instead of paying this for 30 years straight, you'd only pay 23, 24 years or so instead. It's not a bad twist, you know? Oh, that's what I wanted to show you here. This is interest. This is the principal. So your interest at halfway, 15 years, you're still giving them more money in their pockets than they are putting on your loan. And it's not until, let's see, somewhere around here. So between 192, so that's actually year 16 to year 17. Year 16 ends, year 17 begins, and now you're just starting to pay more towards your actual loan than their pockets. Okay? So at the end, not to depress you that much, this is all the last payment goes to your actual loan. This is how much goes to your interest. So your loan, if I add this up, should be $200,000, which it is. How much money went to interest? Almost the same amount. So you bought a house for $200,000, you paid almost $400,000 for that house. So before you take a loan out, be smart, think about it, take a small loan out, something that's reasonable that you can manage, okay? And that's with a decent interest rate. Back in the early 80s, this interest rate, more like 12%. Think about that. You're paying $2,000 a payment. Back in the 80s, early 80s, it was pretty rough. You'd be paying $500,000 in interest only for borrowing $200,000 from a bank. So, you know, interest rates do matter. They make a huge difference, okay? Questions, please let me know on amortization tables or loans or PMT formulas. The last 2 things I wanted to show you were PV, which really, it tells you how much to invest now. So the amount needed that you want for a goal is here, and the amount you want to invest is a PV. So principal value, PV, the starting amount, you would say the rate at 7%, so it's about a stock market, roughly a 7% over a long-term span. Years to invest is 15 years. This one right here, the PMT, whoops, where is it? not going to show it. There we go. The PMT, you're just putting a flat rate. How much money do I have to just put away? And I never put away another monthly payment. I just put a lump sum. I won the lottery. I got an inheritance. I had a scratch off or something. So you're not making any payments. And this is a future value. You want the future value this time because you want to say, I want my end result to be $1.5 million. How much do I have to start with is what they're going to ask. And it turns out if you have a $500,000 in 15 years in the stock market, if it's decent, you can get it to $1.5 million. That ain't bad. So what if you had 40 years to work with in the stock market? If you had $100,000 today, by the time you retire in 40 years, you would have $1.5 million. Not a bad little investment, right? You can also flip things and say, instead of doing it this way backwards of how much do you need, how much money do you want to have, how much should I start with, you go the opposite way. FV. It stands for the final value. So I'm looking for the final value. If I have a 6% interest rate over the X amount of years, NPER is the number of years, so for 32 years, and the payments, I'm going to put down every single yearly investment, I'm going to put down $2,000 per year. And that turns into, in 32 years, $181,000. So say we did this for 40 years, okay? $309,000. Let's say you had a better investment or a little bit more aggressive. If you're a parent, possibly, or aunt or an uncle, and you want to give your niece or nephew a gift, give them a nice little gift like this in an interest rate fund or some sort of an account. If you can give them, if it's your own kids, if you could put away, say, $100 a year, or a month, I mean, so $1,200 a year, into a very aggressive interest rate in 40, let's see, by the time they're 18, your $1,200 a month, it turns into $43,000 for them. Nice chunk of money to pay for college, right? If you don't even tell them about it until after they graduated college, so say they're 25 years old, that turned into $81,000. That's a big jump. 18 years, $42,000. 25 years, only 7 years later, that almost doubled. What if you can start this from the time you have a kid, when they're first born, and you can do this every day of their life, and they pick it up at 25, and they continue this until they retire at 65 years later? Wow, that's too big. Wait, there we go. $1.7 million. Start now. Invest now to make money in the future, okay? So again, the whole thing for Chapter 6, I love this part. This is why I talked way too long, is the PMTs, the ands, and the ors, okay? So the big thing, like I said, PMT function, PPMT, IPMT, and just right here, just plain old PMT. Remember, this is a monthly payment. Check to make sure the length of the loan is either in years. If it is, you multiply by 12. If it's already in months, you just leave it alone and grab the number itself. The interest rate is going to be a yearly rate. You will have to divide that by 12 to get a monthly payment. And the purchase price is just the purchase price, okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope this was informative. I hope it woke up some people to not jump on loans for school, for cars, for anything. So think about it before you do so. All right, have a good day. I will talk to you guys later.